Bilirakis.
All right.
Gus?
Two Greeks back to back. It's Greek Independence Day on March 25th, Mr. Speaker. So thank you, Mr.
Amen.
Chairman. Appreciate it. Thanks for giving us the opportunity. In regards to broadband, this committee, the FTC, and the private industry spent years and tens of millions of dollars, as you know, on broadband maps so that we could get funds to the truly unserved and stop wasteful spending by needlessly overbuilding our areas. The LIFT Act ignores all of that work, in my opinion. Rather, it allocates upwards of $100 billion to developments that to deployments that unnecessarily move the goalposts and target it to areas that are already served. And I know that my good friend from Virginia mentioned this, and I know there are a lot of people that face this issue, the same issue. I'm sure many of our colleagues, as I said, in these areas are livid. They will never see broadband if there are more populated areas eligible for funding. And this legislation will only widen that digital divide. And I recommend that and I strongly suggest that we address this issue, Mr. Chairman. Meanwhile, my constituents will continue to pay for the failed results. A better impact on underserved areas is removing regulations that prevent effective market participation. Consistent requirements will help small businesses and startups compete and grow in these areas. And then we can leave the funding, we don't want our constituents paying. And we need to leave the funding to the truly unserved areas. And I really feel like everyone agrees with that. Everyone could get the help they need, all of our constituents. So my question is to Mr. O'Reilly, related to regulatory burdens and past experiences, one of the lessons learned from the FCC's RDOF auction is that broad participation by providers means more consumers will be served with far less funding. What can be learned from that experience as we prepare for the second round of RDOF? Mr. O'Reilly.
Yeah, I appreciate your question. I think you set it up quite nicely. You're absolutely right that the RDOF had a wide participation, and we had a number of different technologies that were able to be part of it. And if you look at what is contemplated in this bill, I think and other people have said it's just about fiber, and every other technology pretty much gets ignored by moving the goalpost, as you indicated. And so I think that's incredibly problematic. As we get to RDOF Phase 2, that really comes down to having the maps done, and hopefully the maps, as I understand, are going to be done relatively quickly. But if you move the goalpost on the first part, then the maps unravel, and you got to restart the data collection, or you've got to try and figure out how to recontain that and repopulate it for different purposes, and you restart that time frame. So I disagree with doing that, because then you don't get to RDOF Phase 2. You don't get to those areas, and these are the areas not the hardest to reach. Not in terms of we know there's absolutely no one in a block. These are the places where the partially served blocks. There's a house or a location or many locations, but part of the block is not being served. And how do we deal with that? And that's having accurate maps, and it's not by moving the goalposts.
Thank you. I want to yield the rest of my time to Mr. Graff, if he would.
Thank you.
Morgan, would you accept that? Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope that in the end, this is a bipartisan bill. Because as you know, we're famous for bipartisanship in this committee, and for it to become law, of course, we need the other chamber as well. So thank you very much for the input, and I'll yield the rest of my time to Mr. Graff.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.